Hello everyone, I am Kelly. Welcome to Back to Basics, Quilting 101. There are a few of us doing this together, and in the description box I will have a list of everyone's YouTube channels, so make sure you go and check them out. Our videos always upload on Wednesdays. So this is my first go, and you'll see me again for this later on in August when I do another block. But for now, we're going to go on with the first one, and I'll show you how I do it.
This is the block I'm going to make. 10 inches. But this pattern also has sizing for a 15-inch finished block and a 5-inch finished block. I will put the link in the description box so that you can get it yourself. I made this as a test block. Fabric from a few years ago when I made a quilt for my friend's son, who is a fan of the Las Vegas Knights NHL team. So, the layout is fabric 1 is the corners and whatever's in the middle. Fabric 2 is the rectangles, and these ones are 3 and 4. So you just had to figure out what colors you want where and make the layout look like you want it to look. This is the block I made for Donna. I'm going to send it to her, but some of my footage got messed up, so I'm going to remake the block and show you how I did it. Now, I live in Canada, in the province of British Columbia, nearest to Vancouver. My city is rural on the outside of town with a lot of cornfields and farms and whatever, so that is why I decided to use the corn fabric. Again, fabric 1, fabric 2, fabrics 3 and 4. I'm not sure where I want my fabrics 3 and 4 to be. So let's just have a look and see. Orange on the corners, blue in the middle, that looks okay. Let's try it the other way. No, I like it that way better. Okay, we're going to do this way. I think that looks better. Of course, if you do this block, do it whatever way you want. Now, I'm going to give you a link to the pattern, but all the pattern has is cutting instructions for 3 different sizes of blocks. 5-inch finished, 10-inch finished, and 15-inch finished. I'm making a 10-inch. So, all of these squares are 2.5 inches. And obviously you need 5 of them for fabric 1 and 4 each for fabrics 3 and 4. Now the rectangles are 2.5 by 6.5. It doesn't give you any instructions on how to sew it together. But I want you to have a look at something. See these fabrics in here? Ignore this for the moment. This is a 9 patch. They're easy to sew together. So, line up carefully, sew those together, sew the middle row together, and sew the bottom row together. You can figure out the pressing as you go. What I found when I was making those testers was, when I was sewing these two, the seams wanted to go this way, so that's the way I pressed them. And when I sewed this one, the seams wanted to go inwards toward the purple, so that's what I did. But follow what your fabric does. If you're using batik or something, it might change that. All you need to do is make sure that this row and this row are the same, and this row is opposite, so that your seams nest. The 9 squares for the middle of the block are down here on my sewing table, so I can access them easily. In order to prevent snaggles with the thread on the pieces I actually want to sew, I start sewing on a scrap piece first. Then if snaggles happen, it'll be there, not on the good pieces I want to use. I have white thread loaded in my machine and in the bobbin, although it's difficult to see, and that is the 1/4-inch foot I use to get a good seam. Needle down. Let's bump up the speed a wee bit. There we go. Now, line up your blocks carefully, right on top of each other and straight. Pieces of fabric, I should say. They're not really blocks yet, but I guess you could call them blocks because they're squares. Okay. That looks pretty good, I think. Make sure. Okay. So, now when you're starting to get down near the end of your seam, stop. Get the next two. Put them together. Get everything straight, tidy. Finish off sewing there and start this one. Okay, guide that one in. There we go. This row here, somewhat obviously, wants to go to the oranges. That's okay, we'll make it happen. So, first thing I usually do is just warm the seam up a little bit. Makes everything work better. And then we'll do the other one. Like so. And then lay your row so that what you want to press to is on the top. So I've got orange on top. Give it one more shot. And then just kind of roll it over carefully with your fingers. Make sure it's all the way open. You don't want any folded over or anything like that. Kind of run it lightly with your thumbnail, your fingernail, whatever. Just kind of press it down. And then with the iron. Give it a few seconds. Sorry if I'm getting shadow in here. The light's a bit iffy. Okay, there's one half of it. Now, flip it around. Do the same thing. I'm having a great deal of fun doing this. I guess you could call it a project, or an endeavor, or whatever you wish with my quilting friends. So everybody who is participating, their channels will be linked in the description box. And we all upload our videos on Wednesdays. So make sure you go through and look at everyone's videos. And my friend Donnell, of Donnell Stitching, she is going to be after me next week. There's that one. So, put that one up there out of the way. Move that one down there out of the way. Now this row doesn't obviously want to go to the purple. It's just kind of sitting there. So we're going to make it go to the purple. So let's, again, give it a little warm up. I know it's not the right way right now. I'll fix it in a second. Okay, there. Warm up the seam. Now we want to go... I want to go this way. Yeah, I want to go this way. I might do this way. I press differently depending what the seam wants to do. Or circumstances, I guess you could say. So if I lay it down like that, all I really need to do is just give it a little wiggle out of the way and press that inwards. Let's just try that and see what that looks like. Double check it from the front. Yeah, that looks okay. Let's hit that a little bit that way, just to be sure. And then we'll go this way. If I hold it, let's see, press that down with my finger a little bit. Whoops, wrong way. Haha. Goofed it up. There. That's better. Actually, it did want to go that way. Okay, hold on. Let's lift this up. There, that's better. There. Now, just to be sure, the whole thing. There. Sorry about that. Okay, so that one looks okay. Yep, now I'll do this one. It works better this way when you're pressing outwards. Come on. And warm that up. There. Okay. I think that'll work. Let them cool down. I'm going to film this with my phone to try to be as close as possible. This is what I mean by nesting seams. Do you see how one seam is going one way and one seam is going the other way? That's the outer with the orange, and that's the inner row with the purple. So, one seam goes one way, one seam goes the other way. Okay? Now, nesting means you tighten them up so they're right together. They sort of snuggle up side by side, right together, and you can feel with your finger and your thumb that is flat. There's no bump. That means you've got it nested right. So get it nice and cuddly up there together, like so. And then we do the other one as it flaps around. Hold on. And then snug that one up like that. So that's nice and tight. This is not a long piece of fabric, so I'm just going to hold it like this and go and sew it. But if you wish to pin, by all means do so. After I sew these rows together, I press that seam open. So again, warm it up a little bit, set the seam, make the threads kind of relax a little, and then I open it up, and you can just kind of take your fingernail or your thumbnail or whatever and spread it open like that. Press your fingers down on it gently. Make sure it's all the way open. Go carefully. And then go with the iron. Just go slowly. Just go along a little bit. And hold it like so. Looks all right. I want you to see this close again. Oops, sorry for bumping. If you have your seams cuddled up nice and tight, then you get nice joining areas of the block. See how that's nice and tight there? Get it as close as you can. But that's the aim of nesting seams, is to get it to look like that. All right, there's the middle done. Let's have another look. What do we see? 3 pieces of fabric, 3 pieces of fabric, 3 pieces of fabric. It is still a 9-patch, just a little bit different. Now, to sew this together, I found it was easiest to do this way. Put the sides on, so sew a rectangle on each, like that. And then what wants to happen with the seam is, because you have bulk here and not bulk here, when you press it toward the rectangle. I know that you're supposed to press toward the dark, but the dark has the bulk. So you're going to have to sew the seam down here and press it toward there. And on the other side, you press it toward here. Now, when you sew these together, it's a simple matter of just putting a square on each end. But for the pressing, press those, again, away from the purple and press it in this way. And then these seams will nest here. I'll show you again what that looks like after I've sewn it. After I had these rows sewed on, I found that the seam actually pressed outwards pretty well. So that's what I've been doing. So let's just set it. Push it out. That join up's pretty good. That one's close enough. Let's see what these ones look like. Oh, that one's a little off. Whatever. This is going to be an extra block. If I was actually doing something important with this block, I would unpick that and redo that so that gets tighter, but as an example, I don't really care. So there we go. There's another example of a cross patch block. Now hold on a minute, because I'm going to make a big block of 15 inches and do a project with that. So don't go anywhere yet. As you can see, the block can look pretty different depending on what colors you choose and what fabrics you use and where you put them in the layout. So I'll get some more sewing done and we'll see what turns out. I'm using a sort of large print for the rectangles, but only because they're cut 3.5 inches wide. I wouldn't do that for the smaller block because you won't be able to see it. So stick with tone on tone, smaller prints, solids, whatever colors work the best for you. I think I would be doing this block a few more times. Be quite good for pretty much everything. Oh, I cut that one too long. Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a couple of those that did that. One side's 3 1/4, not 3 1/2. Okay, we'll do this one because it's good. Piece in. That will be okay for now, and I will show you the block when it's done and you can see how a big one looks. There we go. That's what a 15-inch block looks like. I'm going to make a table topper. This will be the back, and this light blue will be the binding. I have all of this left over from a quilt a few years back, so when I put this video up, in addition to linking all the participants of this wonderful project that we are doing, I will go back in my channel and find the links for when I made it. Although I might have made it even before I did my channel, so I'm going to have to go and see, because I don't actually remember. But if it's there, I'll find it. I have got the table topper quilted enough, I think. I used cream, just stitch in the ditch there, you can kind of see it. And then I used a little bit of dark blue just to get some lines in here. Let me just flip it over, you might be able to see it better on the back. There we go. The backing's pretty. Yeah, the blue lines show up pretty good. And the cream lines actually don't look too bad either. So, I have to trim this up. Get rid of all the extra now. I'm going to use this big squaring up ruler. It's 20 inches, more than sufficient. So, I line up on the edge of the project, and I make sure that it's also square, not all bleh. So, make sure you line up on the edge, and then find a line along here that you can line up on too. That looks pretty good. Line yourself up on one of these seams here. That looks good there. That one's pretty good there. It looks pretty good this way. You can kind of sugar it a bit if you need to. That looks good there. That looks good there. That's pretty straight there. Yep, lined up there. And that's pretty close there. Okay. Now, trim it. Obviously this ruler isn't big enough, so we'll just go along a little bit like that, and then we'll scoot that up, and we'll make sure that we're still lined up. That looks good there. Yep. Oh, maybe a bit that way. Hold on. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Just go slowly and carefully and double check and make sure that you're looking pretty square. Okay, that looks good. Now we're going to go this way. Just a little bit so I know where I'm at. There. I'm using this lighter blue print for the binding. Now I always do my binding this way, but I'm not going to show you in too much detail because I have many projects in my quilting and sewing playlist where I talk about how I do binding. So if this is the first time you've come by my channel, you can go check that out and see what I've done in the past. I'm going to start down here-ish. Leave yourself an opening, so I'm just going to put that there. Leave myself a big long tail. And I use my walking foot to sew binding on just because you have a few layers and it's bulky. It seems to work better. I just find that it's more helpful than just straight sewing. Walking foot is your friend. So line it up. And I know where the 1/4 inch mark is on this. So I'm going to go down here just to give myself enough extra. Okay, just 1 second, and I won't make you watch this whole thing. Give yourself a little back tack, and off you go. Binding is half done. Now, I'm going to fold it over and sew it down on the front, just along the edge. I'll show you that briefly. I do find it helpful to press the binding out. Not right in the corners, to just kind of go close. Press it out. It just helps things along when you turn it over. I sew the binding and fold it as I go. So I've just put a couple clips in ahead, and you can see, hopefully, that my needle is right on the edge of the binding. It's basically top stitch is what you're doing at this moment in time. So sorry for going a little bit blurry, but you kind of get the idea. Right along the edge. There we go. Table topper done. You can see that this cross patch block is pretty versatile. I would probably do it again. Would be good for Christmas. You could do 4 of them together, would be a nice wall hanging, or you could do 3 in a row for a long coffee table. Sky's the limit, really, I think. Thank you very much for sticking with me for this video, and make sure that you see all my other quilting friends that are doing this project together. Like I said before, everyone's channel tag is in the description box. Go and have a look. Thank you, and happy quilting to all.